The South Carolina Hall of Fame was founded in Myrtle Beach in 1973 to recognize and honor contemporary and past citizens who have made outstanding contributions to South Carolina's heritage, history, and progress.
Thomas Sumter was born in Charlottesville, Virginia on August 14, 1734. He was the son of a Welsh immigrant miller and received a basic education during his modest upbringing. He joined the Virginia militia before his 20th birthday to fight in the French and Indian Wars and served on various expeditions into the backcountry.
And like other partisan commanders in South Carolina, like Andrew Pickens and Francis Marion, gained a great deal of military experience fighting against the Native Americans during the period before the Revolutionary War.
Much of the focus of these missions was to assure that peace would prevail between the region's indigenous people and its new European inhabitants, but they often evolved into arduous and deadly experiences. Sumter became well acquainted with the native people of the region, specifically the Cherokee and its leaders. The expedition led to a peace agreement with the Cherokee, and Sumter accompanied several chiefs on a voyage to London to meet the King of England. After their return to North America in 1762, due to financial difficulties, Sumter became stranded in South Carolina. Although he petitioned the colony for reimbursement of expenses incurred during his travels, he was arrested as a debtor and imprisoned in Virginia. A fellow soldier and friend loaned him the money to pay for his freedom, which he managed to repay when the two met again 30 years later. In 1767, Sumter settled in Stateburg, in what would later be known as Sumter County, South Carolina. He married a local widow named Mary Jameson, and the two became prominent business and plantation owners. His position in the region afforded him the respect and ability to form a local militia, and in 1776, at the onset of the American Revolutionary War, he was elected lieutenant colonel of the South Carolina 2nd Regiment, and eventually was promoted to brigadier general of the South Carolina militia.
He's going to serve in the campaign into Georgia in 1778, becomes somewhat disgruntled during that campaign and decides to resign his commission in the fall of 1778. Ultimately, that turns out to be a very positive thing. He is not, or does not participate in the siege of Charleston when General Benjamin Lincoln's 6,000-man army is captured. Among those captured are many of South Carolina's continental commanders.
His participation in numerous battles early in the war did not compare to the effect of his leadership during the partisan campaigns later on that would eventually lead to the defeat of the British Army at Yorktown, Virginia. His role in those efforts would place him alongside the esteemed ranks of other South Carolina Revolutionary War leaders, Francis Marion and Andrew Pickens.
The partisans employed hit-and-run tactics. They employed what would be known later as light infantry tactics. They operated in small bands. They moved quickly. They ambushed supply trains. They ambushed isolated posts. So it was very much a different style of warfare from the traditional 18th century European military tactics.
Like Marion and Pickens, Sumter received a historical moniker that reflected the nature of his contribution to the formation of the country.
Thomas Sumter was a very controversial figure. He was a very effective partisan leader against the British, but he was also could be very difficult to work with. And he was given the nickname the Gamecock. One theory behind this is that because he displayed such a terrific fighting prowess. The other theory is that he was very pompous, very difficult to deal with, and that he would strut around like a gamecock.
One British general commented that regardless of the size of General Sumter's army, his military tactics were fierce, that he fought like a gamecock. Lord Cornwallis noted that during his campaigns in the South, the gamecock was his greatest plague.
During the summer of 1780, he was one of the men who really kept the revolution alive in South Carolina. The British had moved across the state, had established a number of defensive posts throughout South Carolina and also into the Georgia backcountry. And men like Sumter and Francis Marion were harassing the British throughout these months and letting them know that there's still some resistance.
After the war, Thomas Sumter was elected twice to the U.S. House of Representatives. He was also elected U.S. Senator by the legislature to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Senator Charles Pinckney. There, he served until his retirement on December 16, 1810. Sumter died on June 1, 1832, at his plantation near Statesburg at the age of 97 years and is buried at Thomas Sumter Memorial Park in Sumter, South Carolina. Both the town and famous fort in Charleston Harbor are named for him, and the University of South Carolina's official nickname is the Fighting Gamecocks.